Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Vallen, and this is Botania. Today I'll be teaching you a fairly early game version of a very simple and passive tree farm using Botania and vanilla Minecraft. As you saw here, this was a fairly effective little device that is designed around a single tree being grown. It is not made for mass production. It is not made to lag out servers, though I guess you could make like hundreds of these and potentially do so. But it's more a passive, as long as the area is loaded, version of how to create some mana, as well as, well, get yourself a whole bunch of leaves, or rather trees, wood in this case. Now, there will be a very, very small amount of maintenance involved in this, and that is occasionally emptying out this hopper if it gets a little too full with tree saplings. But otherwise, it's pretty productive, and it's upgradable. You can start out without everything in here. You just need to give it a bit of mana, and then after you've upgraded it through a few stages, you are able to actually gain mana from it instead. Now, I currently have it set up so that I can disable the entire setup, so that I can also reproduce it over here without any of these flowers actually stealing or interfering with me currently rebuilding it. And I will be building it with it being very basic in mind, and then we will progress from there. So to start with, let me turn these things off. I currently have levers on all the flowers. As you can see, they are all redstone flowers that you could use on this. This is a full upgraded setup. You do not have to do this entire setup. It is actually just going to be a majority of those parts, I'll say. So if you look in my inventory here, this is kind of a parts list of things that you will need more or less in your build. And that's going to be a Rannan Carpus, which is going to help you place the tree sapling. You're going to need at least one type of the wood that you're going to be growing from the sapling that you're going to be using, as well as any drops that it might have that are not the wood itself or the sapling. And in this case, I'm using oak, therefore an apple. I'm going to be using 3 item frames because one for the oak wood, one for the apple or any other drops that you might have from it. If you're using birch, you're not probably going to be getting any apples from it, so therefore you'll only need 2 item frames. And then one more for the sapling. Of course, a hopper hock to pick up any items down on the ground, 1 mana spreader, 1 pulse mana spreader, a phantom mana lens, a boar lens, and in this case I have a boar resistance lens. This is an upgraded version. You do not have to use the resistance option, it just makes it more efficient. A stone slab, this is just representing some kind of block, as you can see up here in the background, to stop the tree from growing to become massive. In my case, I'm using oak saplings, so therefore I don't want it to actually do that. At least 1 oak chest or a storage item of some sort that you can, well, keep your wood and apples in or something like that. An observer. This is the part that makes this a little bit later game, and that is because it requires nether quartz. Now, if you find some in the overworld or in a treasure chest, hey, great on you, you didn't have to go into the nether. Otherwise, pop into the nether, grab a few pieces of quartz, and you're good to go. A hopper, an open crate, a wooden pressure plate, some kind of, I'm using dirt in this case, but some kind of stackable material because you're going to need to pillar up in order to build this little structure up above the tree. A couple pieces of, in this case, I'm using coarse dirt. It's still plantable with plants, and it works really good for what we're going to be using with the Rannan Carpus. 3 saplings are preferred. You can have maybe 2, or I guess you could... No, you pretty much need 2, at least to start with. At least 6 redstone, and either 2 mana pools, 2 diluted mana pools, or 2 mana pools, up to you what kind you really want. I'm just using diluted. Or you could have 3, because I'm currently using 1 as something to block the hopper here in this case. But let's, it's enough of the setup here. Now, the basic footprint is very simple. It's actually a 2x7 footprint. Plus, we're going to have a little bit of stuff up above, as you can see here. And on one side, I currently have a little bit carved out. First thing I'm going to do is switch my game mode, and then I'm going to put down a couple pieces of coarse dirt here and here. Reason being is that we're going to have the Rannan Carpus here, and it is going to plant things on a similar type block of coarse dirt right in front of this, and that's going to be the tree saplings. So now that those are done and out of the way, we can move on to the next part, which is going to be a little bit interesting. Now, in my example here, now the part I'm showing you right now is going to be optional, but you have to do it up front to make your life a lot easier. And that is, I currently have a hopper hawk on top of a bit of mycelium. The reason for that is it gives it a delay to pick up the stuff, which gives the Ranuncarpus an opportunity to plant the sapling before they get picked up. So therefore, I like to have the delay on that. Plus, it also will add to a delay on it picking things up, and therefore picking up the sapling that is constantly being dropped down here on this pressure plate. And it will actually make less often click noises, therefore less things being dropped down. But this shouldn't lag anything out. It's just going to be one tree sapling dropped into the world over and over again, every like 5 seconds or so, something like that. It's not too bad. But you know, if you have a magnet on, you might pick things up. But then again, you're probably going to have more oak saplings in here. And anyway, let's get on with this. If you have a infestation spore, which is very simply made with a mushroom in a mana pool, you're going to want to put that down, but you're going to want to clear away any neighboring blocks before you do so, because otherwise it's going to want to try and spread to those blocks. So you're going to want to clear them out, and then you'll have, you need to keep it separate because you don't want everything on a slower spore block in this case. So let's grab this infestation spore, put it down on top. You can see it turns into that. All's good to go. And then you can put down your grass or dirt as you see fit. But you do have to be aware that mycelium will spread to dirt. So in this case, I'm jumping into creative and dropping down a bunch of grass. You could always use like stone or something like that, or another type of dirt. But this is just something that I wanted to take a precaution on and let you guys know about. So with this optional item out of the way, which you don't have to do this, it's just a quality of life thing to make less clicky noises because, you're going to have this thing always clicking and so on all the time. It can get a little bit repetitive. But anyway, let's get this going here. Let's start off with the observer block at the end, as that is kind of the keystone of this entire thing. You put this down away from you, and then you take some redstone, drop it along here. You then start digging your way down around the back side of this. You want it to go in a stair-step method all the way down below. And in fact, you don't have to remove all the blocks, but you are going to want to actually create kind of like this little trail going underneath there. And the reason for that will be revealed. So for now, though, you're going to want to take one of these diluted mana pools and eventually put it down here. For now, we're not going to do that just yet, because if you do, some of the flowers that you put down will try and link to that pool, and it'll just make things a bit of a headache. So instead, what we're going to do is put down one of those oak saplings now. Might as well get that thing start growing. And you notice when I placed it down, that was a redstone signal because of the observer block. Every time this thing gets a growth tick or there is some kind of update to the block in front of it, it will generate a redstone pulse, and therefore will power one of our mana spreaders. Now let me grab the pulse mana spreader here that is going to be down on the bottom. Put this down. It doesn't have to face in any direction. We're going to give it a direction eventually anyway. So let's hop over here, and we're going to want to pillar up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. On the 7th block, you just want to remove that, remove all the other blocks below it. And you can just kind of get rid of those, and therefore you have a platform to build from. Now with this, you can take your mana spreader, put that on the side here, after you've put down a mana pool. In my case, I'm putting a diluted mana pool. Like I said, you could actually use a regular one if you want. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes and because to demonstrate it's somewhat early game, so you don't have to have a lot of materials for it. I put down that mana spreader there, and it should be good for now. It doesn't need to face any direction. Now we're going to be working a little bit more on some other stuff. We need these lenses. We're going to have the bore lens going to be on the pulse mana spreader, which it doesn't have any mana yet, so you don't need to worry about that. And if you want to upgrade it, you can with the resistance lens as well. You can combine the two together with a slime ball. But otherwise, we're going to put a phantom lens on that one up there, so that when it shoots the mana down here through any of the blocks, it's actually not going to interfere with those ones. We want this one to actually break blocks on the way up, which is going to be a whole bunch of wood. So with this being directly above and 1 block over, I should be able to shift click and shift click there. And then when I hold my wand and I look at this, you can see that it's actually kind of going at an angle through the tree sapling and other blocks above it. Now, in the case that you're worried, well, it's not going to break the block directly underneath this slab. Well, that's probably just going to be a leaf block, so you don't really need to worry too much about that because leaf blocks will, over time, without wood, disappear. Now let's grab this one here, grab that one there, aim it there. There we go. That's what I was trying for. And it will, as you see here, it's currently, the starburst is right there. So it's going to start getting fade off of mana. And don't worry, we're going to put a pool down there in a moment. So let's put down the Hopper Hawk, which of course is going to be on the mycelium. So if you drop any blocks at this point, it's going to try and pick things up and put them into an inventory. Not to worry, we're going to be removing a few of these blocks here and here. In fact, I'm probably going to remove a little bit more than that because I don't think we need the rest. But either way, a wooden pressure plate. It's going to go down here. Then you take your open crate on top of that. Then you take your hopper, put it into the open crate. And therefore you can see here, it's already dropping stuff because I had picked up this sapling and it's already working. Excellent. Then you take your redstone, and this is the beginner's version here that I'm using. The reason I'm saying that is because if you don't have any more, quartz to spare, you could just do this and that will work. Otherwise, optionally, you could just take a redstone repeater and make it a little bit more compact and do this. And therefore, it will make things a little bit, cleaner for you so that you're not using that last block if you don't want to. Kind of make your build a tiny bit more compact, though you are, if you upgrade it, going to have blocks hanging out this end anyway. But not to worry. This here is going to slowly keep on reproducing that down there, which is great. Now we need the Ranuncarpus. There we go. Let's put that on the old toolbar here. And then we're going to put it down. I like to have it right next to the oak sapling, just for that sake. And you can see it's above the coarse dirt and the sapling's on the coarse dirt. So now it's going to place things that are in the world on coarse dirt. So if you drop things on the ground, that's what's going to happen. Now I'm going to take one of my diluted mana pools. I'm going to put it on top of that. You don't have to do this, but I'm doing it so that the flowers will link to those if you put them down. You can put it down as you put down the hopper if you so desire, or you can break it, put them down again, or you can use your wand to link them to it just to make sure that things don't link to the wrong pool. Then you can put down your other pool. I should have put that down the other side. There we go. You're going to want to make sure that you fill these with mana. There we go. There's the first one. And then the second one, I'm going to jump up here, drop it in. Good to go. And it's important that you have at least one, if not more, of the diluted mana pools full. Otherwise, it's not going to really last long. The reason being is that it's going to be like anywhere from 2 to, 10 mana bursts up into that before a tree actually grows. Typically, it's around 5 or so, maybe 4, depending upon the growth ticks and how things are going. But, sometimes you're going to be wasting mana, especially if you have not upgraded this at all to be productive. But at the very least, it can be a way to start building a farm of, automatic tree harvesting by itself. Now, this next part here is actually very key. We're going to take some of the item frames, saplings, an apple, oak wood. Now, I'm going to put some frames on here and on here. And then, of course, I'm going to want that chest that I had so that I can put things here. And I realize now that I want one of those. I put one of those on the wrong spot. There we go. We're putting these on the chest. You can put them on any side that you want, really. You can even put them on the same side as the flower. In fact, let me grab this other one here so that it's just easier for you guys to see. I'm putting it on the outside here. And what it's going to do is it's going to constantly keep putting whatever I tell it to in there. And that's one of the saplings there. So any of the oak saplings should be going through into that area. Now let me put an oak sapling in there, and it will constantly be putting it into the hopper instead of in the chest. The chest, we want it to pick up apples and oak wood. So I've got that here, and then everything should be good because these are on the either of the sides of the hopper hock. It's going to deposit into those inventories. Now the open crate actually counts as an inventory too, but it is diagonal from it and it should not insert into that at all. So with this, we now have an actually working setup. So all we need is the tree itself to grow. I've got a bit of bone meal, and you'll notice that as I hit this, there we go, should go up, harvested the wood, and you'll see that slowly over time, the saplings will drop, and this is why you should start with some saplings. I recommended those 3 so that you can put 2 of them, one in here, one there, and the other one to drop in the hopper, so it's already got one going. The reason being is that if this is already in the world and the block gets updated over here, the random carpus will probably grab the sapling first. Now, if in the case, for some reason, when it harvests, it instead grabs a piece of wood, this thing, if it has resistance on it, will go slower and actually break the wood again because of the pulse. There should be typically 2 pulses because of the block updates that are happening here. And therefore, it should re-harvest it and give it another chance to plant them. Worst case scenario, if in the rare case, which it's very rare, that this actually still has wood blocks here and it's not doing anything to harvest it, just break this 1 block and then it should automatically take care of itself. Once you get a few saplings in the hopper, you should be good to go. And this is the slow version 1, because you're seeing here, if you don't have if you don't have fast leaf decay in here, then you're kind of waiting for everything to just decompose and decay slowly over time. So this is where we're going to kind of step things up a little bit. So if I can get up here, let's see if I can jump up on some of these leaves, and you can see here I have a drum of the canopy, actually, not of the wild, of the canopy. If I can do this fast enough before everything decays, let's see if I can put this here and then break this. There we go. Now what happens when it harvests things? Nothing. Because what you could do is feasibly put it right underneath the diluted mana pool in this for phase 2. And that would, therefore, when a mana burst runs through it, in this case I've got a mana blaster, it will automatically start breaking leaves, and you will get the drops from them. So it should drop saplings and apples like that, which is really good. Now, in this case, this is just a mana gun, mana blaster. Don't worry about it. It just shoots a mana burst, and I've got a creative mana tablet. But I'm just doing that for demonstration. You can put it directly underneath the mana pool for phase 2. Phase 3 is what I recommend you go to, and therefore is where it starts making things self-going, because as it is right now, you're going to lose mana over time. It will eventually lose mana because of the constant transfer back and forth of the mana between the 2 pools and harvesting of the blocks, etc. So what you're going to want to do next is get your Munch Dew, which is one of the optional items here, and you can start setting him up. Now, here's the thing. You need to line this up properly. So if you look over here, I've got this about 2 blocks above, so it's 1 block above my head, and therefore it lines up with the chest on the left here. So let's do 1, 2, break this block quick. Okay, I didn't want to lose that picture frame there. And toss that up there. And now, if I can, let's just build myself a little stairway. I can put down my Munch Dew, and then I need to put down a mana spreader that it's going to be attached to. Let's put it on the side and attach this Munch Dew to that. There we go. You can see that they have nothing in them right now. Then we're going to want this mana spreader here to actually aim at this. Ooh, see if I can actually get up here. No, I can't. Let's fly up then to this mana pool. You get that set up, and now you see it actually shoots through the drum. And that's very key for this setup. The reason I'm showing you this is because you don't want those leaves to go away before the Munch Dew gets a chance to munch them. Now, if you have fast leaf decay on, it's still possible that the Munch Dew might get a few of these leaves and therefore recuperate enough of the mana loss for your setup. But in this case, it's unknown. And you do want a phantom mana lens on this as well. In this case, I actually have a rainbow tinted one, which is just adding in a mana pearl, so it changes the color, just makes it all pretty. But there you go. Now let me grab some bone meal. And remember, the thing here is that a Munch Dew after it has eaten a bunch of leaves, will have like a couple minute cooldown. So if you have this thing running too fast, the Munch Dew isn't actually going to be gaining any mana from it, and you're just going to empty all your pools out. So it is a slower method, but it should work just fine. Now, every time that this thing gets an update, there we go, it will shoot a pulse. That's just the normal shot. And that is the effect there. As you notice, the Munch Dew had enough time to munch a bunch of the leaves at the top, leaving a whole bunch down at the bottom to still generate a sapling, and it replanted. Now, like I said, once in a while, you'll probably have to come over here and empty out any extra oak saplings that you have. I mean, it can hold 5 stacks in its current shape. Also, you might want to just make sure it didn't, on one of those rare cases, produce a piece of wood down here, in which case you just break that and it should automatically plant a new sapling. And if you do want to stop this from, continuing, you just put a lever here and stop that, and it will stop dropping the sapling. That's it. Pretty much done. Then you can restart this over again. It'll empty this out once it grows a new tree, and it will not replant automatically anymore. It might still plant from any saplings that drop down, but it should eventually stop. And if you wanted to stop everything, then you could just run a redstone signal across here. If you're going to upgrade further to, stage 4, I guess in this case, you can put down an agri-carnation and have it hooked up to this mana pool down below so that it actually gets power. And it should speed up things a little bit. But like I said, you don't want to speed this up too much, because if it goes too fast, then that Munch Dew isn't going to have enough time to recuperate the mana. But this is a really good way of, you get this set up, you just leave it running, you go about your business doing other stuff, and it's going to constantly make you a little bit of mana and a little bit of wood over time. And you can see here, we've already got 20 logs and 3 apples just from me kind of using a little bit of fertilizer and demonstrating to you guys. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit by bit on Botania. A little bit different twist on a tree farm. It's just a solo build made not to lag out servers or anything like that. It can definitely be upgraded considerably more, but I'm trying to do some earlier game stuff so that it's more inviting to people and they can get into it a little bit easier than, end game Botania stuff. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, spread the mischief to others if you think they'll enjoy this content too. And until next time, folks, I'll see ya.